Welcome to the Waiting List podcast. Tell us the story.
It's like many things you start building from scratch.
And then I'm like, wait, I really do like watches because
You've seen so many watches that makes you excited.
I think I really do like watches.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to see if you are a watch enthusiast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waiting List podcast. Today, I'm joined with my co-hosts, Jacqueline and Daniel. We have a very special guest today. I had the pleasure of meeting Carolina about 2 years ago in Hong Kong. And in the watch world, I would say she is best known for her frosted gold collection with Audemars Piguet. So welcome.
Welcome, Carolina.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for doing it.
You too.
I just want to say, recently we did an episode with a collector called Eric Koo, and Dan had mentioned that for him, it kind of felt like he had come full circle because when he was collecting, he always wanted to meet Eric, talk to Eric, and so on. And when I was like doing the questions for this, I also had one of those moments like, wow, it feels like a full circle moment because when I had first met you, I was still at a stage where I was like, whoa, I have so many questions, but I'm too scared to ask. So now I'm like, yes, I can ask all the questions I want to ask during this episode. So yeah.
Can I ask, last time when you met Carolina, like what kind of event like surrounding was it? Like this is what I'm imagining, right? Like it was probably at the AP event and there were probably like a lot of people, right? Probably a lot of people surrounding Carolina and asking her questions. So is that why?
People?
No, actually it was a sit down dinner. And then they do like one customer, one sales, one customer, one sales. And okay, I don't know what it feels like from your point of view, Carolina, but for me, it was my first event in Hong Kong, like with Hong Kong people. And I thought that, and I thought being Hong Kong, everyone would be like, oh, I know who, like, I'm a who's who, whatever. But people were really shy. So I was actually thinking, why is no one asking questions? Like, this is our only chance to ask questions, right? So that was what I thought.
Let's be honest though, Long. Like, were you more interested in the food though? Is that why you were
okay? By the way, I have to say the food was really good, and I was really concerned because they had bread and they were taking away the bread at one point. I was like, no. But yeah, I don't know if it felt like that for you, Caroline.
Italian and hard.
Yeah. And also you can't. It's not, I believe anyways, like it's not like Carolina can go to the customer and be like, hey, why don't you ask me something, But it's one of those things you're just like, what, like, what's the point of being here if you don't, if you're just going through the motion of like, AP invited me, I'm coming to this dinner. But you have actually one chance to ask everything you want to ask about like how the watch is made. So I was really surprised. Yeah.
I think it was my first visit actually to Hong Kong in general. And definitely my first event there. And I think a lot of the people also did not speak English or were shy maybe about speaking English. Because actually I remember there was one lady who appeared not to speak one word, but when I was answering through the translator, she was understanding. So I think she was, again, like you say, it makes sense what you're saying, that she was a bit shy about asking things. But it was really fun. And I thought everybody was very cool in very different ways, which I thought was really interesting because it was there was more individuality than I think in other places.
Because you also went to Japan and Singapore and other countries, right?
So before that, I had got the tour for the launch of the Frosted Gold watch. And I'm really sorry that my dog is barking.
It's okay.
It's quite funny, actually.
He's right now chasing a cat. And is haunting him. And see him. And he's very easy to wind up. But so the tour started in New York, then we did in London, then we did Singapore, then Hong Kong, then Japan, and then we did Italy in the meantime as well, and then we did Italy again, and then at the end we did the US. So it was kind of a 9-month trip around the world, and it was really fun. And again, the whole point about that trip was about this watch is, which I'm wearing now, but it's one watch. The dial is a mirror, so I replaced the traditional tapisserie with a mirror dial. And to me, I love, if you know anything about me or my jewelry, I am kind of the queen of variations and possibilities and combinations. For me, I get very bored about one thing like that. And so I want to give options, which is what I do with my jewelry. With this, it was one watch, one color, one dial. And so the mirror allowed me to make that watch endlessly different and to reflect how different every woman or client is. And that's why all the events that we did around the world were circled around the same concept, the same watch, but each one was completely different. So the food was completely everything mirrored, to use the word mirrored the environment and the clients. So it was no two were alike, which was my concept that I wanted to achieve. So it was really fun.
I know you have like shared the story a million times, right? But just for people listening, can you just share that story about how you came to work with AP and how you had basically followed that woman in the mall and then she went up the escalator?
So of course, I make jewelry. So my husband has a harder job than most men in buying me presents because jewelry is completely out of the as a category is out. So he is not able to do last minute anniversary today, run into wherever I came out with a little box that's not on my face. So he has to work a little bit harder, and he does an amazing job. And but for a lot of big birthdays or occasions or special moments, he has been buying me art, but watches as well. And so my 35th birthday was coming up, and he asked me, "What watch would you like?" Because I had nice watches and I love them all and I rotated them all. Un giorno, mi può chiudere la porta così non sento il cane? Sorry.
It's okay.
You're getting the full Italian.
Is your dog okay? I feel like he's getting attacked.
What was I saying? Anyway, so I had watches and I was quite happily rotating them according to my jewelry and whatever. And then I decided actually, so James asked me, which watch would you like next? And I looked and I couldn't find anything that I really wanted. And then one day I was walking on the street in New York and I spotted something on a lady's wrist. And so I got closer. I followed her because I needed to see what it was. So I was walking that I loved the look of, but I couldn't work out what it was from far. So I crossed the street, started chasing her, following her. She walked into Bergdorf Goodman. I walked into Bergdorf Goodman. She went on the first floor. I went on the first floor. So I was literally stalking her to find out, to get close enough. I could have simply asked her, excuse me, and especially in New York, nobody, gets frazzled by that. But for me, there was that need to figure out what it is. And eventually I got close enough to take a mental picture. I'm like, okay, I got it. I know what it is. I called my husband. I said, I know exactly what I want. It's, Audemars Piguet. It's like this. Da, da, da. We went to AP. We explained to them what I wanted. And they said, oh, yeah. This watch is it's a man's watch from the late 70s, early 80s. No longer in production. But don't worry, we have all these other wonderful ladies' watches here. And none of them were what I wanted. And so it's kind of deflated. I'm like, oh, I found something that I wanted. And, okay, back to the drawing board. And then James actually was able to find one, I guess now we call them pre-loved. That's what I always loved calling them. And so I received that for my 35th birthday, loved it, and loved it beyond any other watch that I've ever had, because I think it wasn't just the watch, it was the shape of the brace. I have very, very small wrists, I think you have, Lonu. But I like big watches, but this hugs the wrist. And it doesn't feel like I'm wearing my husband's watch or my father's watch, which is not the look that I wanted. So also I like things kind of super glued. If you see my watch does not move. And so that watch became literally my style signifier. I wore it every day. Never really wore any of my other watches so much anymore. And it went perfectly, obviously, well with my jewelry, with my life, with my style. And so that's how I came to know AP, and I fell in love with AP. And then, as I said, that watch just never left my wrist. And I was featured in, a couple of, I think it was one article in particular with how to spend at the estate, where the first question is, what is your style signifier? So I said, well, my royal oak. And that caught the attention of Mr. Benamias. And so we were introduced by a mutual friend, and I was invited to go to Librasu to learn more about the brand and about the family and the business and all of that. And they came to me, so I explained more about my world, dogs, this, that, and my chaos. And then after one of those meetings, well, after a few of those meetings, Francois said to me in a very direct way, as he is, he said, okay, I don't understand. You're a feminine person. You design feminine jewelry. Why are you wearing an old man's watch? Why are you not wearing any of the women's watches? So in the same direct way, I said back to him, because I don't like any of your women's watches. Because no, what we want. And I think it's a lazy, in brackets, with a lot of respect, approach to what you think women want. So you make so much effort in making the perfect watches for men, and all that care and thought and expertise, and you just say, I'm going to shrink them, or there's nothing wrong with a small watch. In fact, right now they're super trendy. Everybody wants a small watch, but you make them smaller, you cover in diamonds, or you put a pink strap and you just label it a women's watch. So, well, that's not enough. So a little bit as of a challenge, Francois said to me, oh, okay, this was over lunch. He said, and you think you can do better than that? And I said, yes. So that, honest, true, unfiltered story, it came out of me falling in love with a watch, and then a simple conversation and a question and a challenge, and me rising to that challenge saying, yeah, I think I can. Actually, I know I can, because I design things that I want. The same I do with my jewelry. I design first and foremost in a very selfish way for me. If I don't love it, then it doesn't happen. And so with the watch, I had the same exact approach. I designed my dream watch, which, by the way, was not completely read. I mean, I was given kind of a blank sheet of paper, and what I wanted to do was not create something completely new from scratch, because to me, what Argenta created was perfect in its proportions and its lines and its the blend between sportiness and preciousness. It just needed a tiny little tweak to catch women's attention from across the room, not once you have it. In the watch world, it's always up close, all the technicalities, all the complications. And I say this a lot in relation, my husband says, when my husband says we're buying a new car, all I care is that it has heated seats. Right now, also when we're in our house upstate New York, heated steering wheel as well. Because it gets very cold. And what color is it? The rest of it, he can deal with. I'm not interested as long as it works. So with the watch approach, for me, it was the same, where AP, of course, takes care of the quality, the mechanism, all of that stuff. But as a woman, it starts with how it looks, first of all. So the reason I stalked that lady in New York, it's not because I knew what was inside that watch. It's because how it looked. And that's how I think women in general, I think maybe I'm generalizing too much, but at least I do, we get attracted by things. You see someone with a bag, a jewelry, a piece of jewelry, a watch, a dress from the other side of the room.
Yes.
You need to get closer to find out more. And I think that you need to capture women from the eyes and the heart. No, with the brain comes later. So that was my approach to the watch. But you didn't ask me that. But
I have so many questions.
I have
so many questions.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go first.
All right.
Dan, go
Actually,
first.
my question is to Long Long, because obviously you're also an owner of the piece, right? And I wanted to know, did you know of Carolina Bucci, the jewelry, before the watch or after the watch? And secondly, what was your relationship with that watch from seeing it and then owning it? Did you feel everything that Carolina said about how she wanted it to, how you felt it was really built for women, by a woman?
Okay, I'll tell you something really strange. Okay, so to answer the first question, I only knew about the jewelry after finding out about the watch and everything. But then subsequently, I believe the jewelry was sold on Net-a-Porter, and then it became more like mainstream. But I'll tell you what's really strange. One is I'm someone that never buys online until I met Jacqueline and so on, right? So I always have to see everything in physical form, and I have to see it 2 to 3 times before I buy it, whether it be shoes, bags, anything. With that watch, I had ordered it just from the picture, and the picture is super photoshopped. It's like a hand. It's photoshopped. It's super bright.
Sorry, AP,
yeah,
the picture is awful.
It's awful.
That's one of the downsides of the Florentine finish. The frosted gold. That you cannot picture it ever because it's the way that light interacts. You need to see it live. Yes. So if you like it in a picture, you're gonna be blown away.
So that was my theory. If I already like the picture, in real life, it will be like 10 times better. And then I just told myself, you will never, ever come across a royal oak with a mirror in this lifetime again. So I thought, okay, what would happen if in 20 to 40 years time, the mirror like patinaed for whatever reason, it changed color? How cool would it be? It would turn black. And then I would tell my grandkids, hey, it used to be a mirror and now it's stained and whatever. So I ordered it without seeing it. So that was the second thing. But the craziest thing was whenever I want to buy a watch and I envision it. So I have this whole like law of attraction thing. You know how I always tell you, I want this strap. I imagine myself in summer wearing it and so on. With this watch, I always envisioned, even way before meeting Carolina, I'm going to wear it with this. I'm going to stack tons of jewelry. I had a certain way of wearing it in my head. And then the crazy thing for me was when I finally did meet her, I wore it with jewelry. And I remember one of the first things that she said to me was, whoa, finally someone's wearing it with jewelry. And then I felt like it was a very it just meant how strong the design was for someone that was like sitting somewhere else in the world, sitting there drawing this design, imagining, hey, I want this watch to be worn this way. But for me in Asia, never met her, never spoke to her, could feel this watch should be worn this way. That for me was like, okay, that just confirmed like this is such a strong design that when the design itself can speak to you without the person telling you how to wear it, how to use it, I'm like, whoa, this is such a good buy. Like it kind of just confirmed everything for me.
Very happy.
Yeah.
The thing is with this watch, I've never seen it in person, but I feel like you can create an entire Instagram of that watch reflecting different things in the world. It could be the trees, it could be the skies, it could be the food, it could be the coffee in your hand, it could be the person standing right in front of you or behind you.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Like it could be only one watch.
Idea. Let's do this. Yeah. There are only 300, and so I have one. You have one, so there are 298. So we should do the club of the 300 people.
I've been trying to look for these people.
We should look for everybody. It's only 298 more, and we should make a club of the 300, and everybody can take pictures of what their watch reflects in their day.
Exactly. I know. I would love to do that. I've been looking for all the 300 people online, and I've been so fascinated by it.
We'll discuss after this, and we'll make it. Thank you, Jacqueline.
No problem. But even though I've never seen this particular watch with the mirror dial in person, Carolina, my mom's first AP was a frosted royal oak. And I think that was in 2017 when AP, they announced that they were going to collaborate with you and do the Florentine finish. And they did the whole collaborative video for a marketing scheme. And we were in Milan at the time. And my mom wanted a watch. So I told her, check this out because I've never seen anything like it. And back then I knew nothing about watches, mind you. So then we went to the Audemars Piguet boutique in Milano. And then we saw 2 watches. One was the rose gold with the white dial. One was the white gold with the white dial. And my mom tried them on. And when I saw, I personally am like a white metal person. So when I saw the white gold one, from far away, it looked like you had a diamond watch.
Yeah.
Especially in the boutique lighting. It was so bright. And I was like, oh my God, like if you didn't look close enough, it could blind you. Like that was a diamond watch. And because the dial was white and then the white metal, right? but the rose gold had a little bit of the contrast with the dial in the case. So then my mom ended up picking up the rose gold one. This was May of 2017. So like just a couple of months after the
because we launched them in November. Well, the event to launch announcement was November 16.
Yeah, so we got it. I told her about it, and she was deciding between Patek and AP, and I kind of like I knew nothing about watches then, so I kind of nudged her.
You knew enough.
Yeah, well, I knew about the Florentine finish, and I knew how like of an ancient, technique it was, and then it brings out all the shimmers of a gold case. So she was deciding between Patek and AP, and she went with the AP. So then for her 50th birthday, I got her a Patek to kind of like, okay, now you have to balance it out, and she loves it. So
well,
okay.
I think that the main thing, I'm so happy to hear that, because again, I design, like I said, things that I love, and then I hope that other people do.
Totally.
When my days you, that's I think when I feel like my job is done well, because design doesn't need to be complicated. In fact, to me, it's quite the opposite. But to make something work and simple, it's even more difficult than making something overly complicated. And that was also really the concept behind it, that given this blank page, I, as a designer, messing with an icon, so such as the Royal Oak, which was perfect in just how it was more of a pressure, more of a challenge than designing something new completely from scratch. So so that was that.
Yeah. Wait, but I have another question. Like, first of all, what was the Royal Oak that your husband got you? So like the one that you
So it's a 36 millimeter yellow gold men's watch, classified as a men's watch from the late 70s, early 80s. I think it's
right. What color of dial was it?
Yellow gold. Oh, the dial is off-white.
Yeah. Wow, like creamy white.
The creamy white, and the bracelet, the watch is yellow gold, which is my favorite color. Which is why in the first collaboration with AP, the swatches were in rose gold and in white gold.
Yeah.
And then that was very well received as a collection. And then that's when we decided that was to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Royal Oak.
Right.
So that's when that collaboration came out. And then 2 years later, in 2018, we launched the Carolina Bucci Special Edition, which is the yellow gold with mirror dial, which is why this is yellow gold. Because in my head, I already knew what I wanted to do, but I was saving the yellow gold for
herself.
So you knew.
I love the rose gold. I love the white gold. I love all of them. But to me, there was, if you have to choose just one, then for me the choice is yellow gold.
For sure.
It's a no-brainer. So it was and that was 2018. It
must be pretty amazing to have like it reverse engineered, where before what you said, a lot of watches are designed for men, and then let's shrink it down and make it and then label it with a woman. But now you see that Florentine finish on some of the men's watches, right? On the 41 millimeter cases. So you've actually done it the opposite way, and kind of proven a point, right? Within the
and that was very satisfying, actually, because also again, I design like my jewelry for women, with for me first, and then women in mind. And when men started buying the frosted gold pieces, that was triply satisfying, because then exactly like you say, it was like, okay, well then this is a way around, which is never really happened. And also I did envisage, which I love, to have unexpected reactions from it. And it's kind of a similar thing that I have on, not wearing any right now, but on my Forte Beads collection, which again, it's designed I design my jewelry for women. But the Forte Beads collection is taking a whole different route for men. In fact, we just launched on Mr. Porter, just a whole thing just for men, which was never the plan, but it's the men that have come to find it in a very, in my world, which is it's a feminine world, but they found their look and their thing in a way. And so I love this. Again, that's how it should be. Design is design. It doesn't have to be for men, for women. Good design is good design. It doesn't matter.
I always feel like in the watch world, to like make sure that it is a good design, if guys generally say, whoa, I want this watch, even though it's in the women's category, it's like it must be so good that even guys want it. And I think with AP consistently, even with the AP female concept watches, a lot of guys want it. So I always feel like with AP, even though they do push out a lot of stuff that I don't think, whoa, the female collection is great, they do put out some stuff that I'm like, whoa, it's strong. It's so strong.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, at the end, that's what stands out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a point of view and an identity and make a statement. Otherwise, you're just creating visual pollution, commercial pollution.
I think otherwise you're I think it's just like, otherwise not even pollution, you're just creating like a product, like a thoughtless product for the sake of having
it has no soul.
And
at the end, I think, and customers are educated and informed, and also again the pieces need to speak to you, because also, and that's what the world, we're trying to do that, is buy things that you really love, that you keep. Don't get bored of them and just throw them away. And especially when there's so much craft and expertise and skill behind it, there needs to be an appreciation for it. And so that's really important, that it's of the moment, but that it has a life, timeless in a way, even if it represents a time.
Yeah. Jacqueline, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had. I wanted to ask, well, first of all, like when you did the initial collection, right? Because in the teaser video, I remember seeing like craftsmen doing the little, was that something that you had to like advise AP? Because it's something that they're still doing now with their frosted collection, not collection, but a lot of their pieces are frosted gold. But are you still affiliated with that? Because I don't see your name affiliated that. So how is this partnership, how has it become nowadays since 2016?
The way it started, again, it was not really a plan, like I said to you. It just kind of came naturally from two sides really appreciating and admiring each other. So when I explained to Francois what I wanted to do with the first watch, he looked at me and said, this is craziness and it's never going to work and blah, blah, blah. I am a Scorpio. So I know is hard. It's pretty much never an answer. And usually also that's how my design process is. I have an idea, an image that forms in my head of what the finished product is. Then I have to kind of backtrack myself to work out, how do we make this happen? And is it actually possible? Sometimes it's not possible, and in that case, no, I accept. But when I really believe that it can be possible, so I explained that. I said it's not possible. I said, okay, you know what? Send me a watch, please, and we will do it in our workshop, and I will show you. So I received a royal oak in every piece of the bracelet was individual. It was all in pieces. Okay. So in the workshop, my jeweler finished by hand. So the Florentine finish, for anybody who doesn't know, is a technique that is very much my signature. It's an evolution of many different techniques and tools. Our jewelry and my family has been making jewelry since 1885 in Florence, in Italy, in workshop. It's not a factory. And that's what I am carrying on, is the tradition of artisanal techniques, essentially. But my goal is to make jewelry that is fun but precious. So same techniques, but not in a stuffy, too traditional way. So giving them new life and being more contemporary for what I like today. And what, by extension, other women like today. So that was the Florentine finish. Is not applied. It requires a skill and a practice. So the way that you achieve it is that you have a little tool that has an inverted diamond on the tip. And you take that tool and you beat the gold with that tool. The diamond creates facets in the gold. So chips away tiny pieces of gold, creating facets because of the tip of the diamond is faceted. And when light hits the facets, that's when you get the sparkly effect. So the glistening, which looks like almost, it's, if you squint, it almost looks as it's completely paved with diamonds. But it's not a single diamond, but it is created by the tip of a diamond. So that's how you achieve the Florentine finish. Now, that Florentine finish can be deeper, lighter, you know, it depends on your hand, because even though now we use electricity operated tool to make it go faster and to, you know, it's easier also. It's still a human hand that is holding it. So we're not putting it on a machine and then you press the button, you go away, you come back and it's fun. It's a person. So if you go too deep, it doesn't work. If you go too light, it doesn't work. It's about knowing. It's a bit like cooking, right? It's a bit like anything. You need to know. So we did that. So we finished all the different pieces in the Florentine finish. We sent them back to Switzerland, where they reassembled the watch, and then Francois came to see me with the, you know, with the watch in, and he said, okay, look. And he said, what do you think? And I said, well, to the eye, it looks great. We're good. And he said, yeah, but it's too rough, because, you know, and there's all these things that obviously I'm not a watch designer, so I didn't know. So I've learned so much in this process. So he said, but it's too what, it doesn't work like this. So what we quickly realized is that applying the Florentine finish on the jewelry and applying it on a watch is not exactly the same thing. That needed to be adjusted and adapted. So then we went back and we did it, you know, we taught their guys basically how to do it, because also to do it so that it would be complete and appropriate for the functionality of a watch. So then it went back to Switzerland and it came back to me again the next time, and he said, what do you think? I said, well, it's dead. I said, it feels great. It doesn't, you know, it's not catchy, scratchy or anything. I said, but it doesn't make my heart sing. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't do anything. It was too light. And so that process went back and forth about 7 or 8 times until we found the perfect balance to please, like what I like to say, the brain and the eyes, which are the heart, by the way, where it sparkled enough, but not too much surface, rough surface, to not make it function as a watch. So that's how we achieved the first one. And then kind of they know how to apply it, and, you know, and I always get informed of, well, I work with AP also on what they're coming up with, and so on and so on. So my collaborations have been the 2 collaborations in 2016 and 2018, but we have an ongoing relationship in general. And
that's great.
You know, if you have this skill, like it's your own family thing. Have you ever thought, like, all your watches, you just bring it into the workshop and you just work on it?
So we get asked that question maybe 20 times a day.
Okay.
So many people that say, I have this, I have that, can I bring it in? No, because it's not something you apply to the watch after. It's something that is, again, you need to take the whole thing apart. You need to, it's in the production now. I mean, we did it the first time on those pieces. It was a trial. It was really for me to, it was Francois saying, show me, I don't think it's possible. But actually, we worked really hard on it. We made it possible, but it's part of the production, because also what it you know, the finish is unpredictable. And that was also one of the, to me, satisfying challenges, and a challenge, the fact that a watchmaker, a Swiss watchmaker, the world is, and especially their artisans are about, it's like this, you go to their workshops and everybody's wearing, you know, white lab coats and everything is pristine. It's like you're in some pharmaceutical. My workshops are not like that. on a given Wednesday in my workshop, my jeweler is making donuts on the same fire.
That's amazing.
Also an amazing part. So it's a very different vibe. But again, there's that passion and that skill. And it's about, and so what I also tried to explain to AP was that this fit no 2 watches. Well, ever be exactly the same, because this is applied, and those facets, it's not like there's a computer program that you plan the facets how they, it's applied, and your skill needs to tell you, your eye needs to tell you, okay, that's enough, or I need a bit more, or that.
Yeah.
But essentially, even though they look all the same, no two are the same, because it's a finish applied by hand. So that, I think, is also, we made something kind of perfectly imperfect, or perfectly perfect, whichever way you want to see it, which I think is newness to the watch world.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about your logo, because it for people who haven't Googled this, it looks like it's almost childlike. It looks like it's written by crayon, right? What is the reason you chose something like this? Were you trying to portray that it's fun and playful, in line with how you want your jewelry to be?
So I think the best way to answer this is so obviously, you know that I come from fourth generation of a family making jewelry in Florence, and so I grew up. This is not, it's not one day I woke up like, oh, I'm gonna make jewelry. I was born into this. No, never forced. We're three kids, and I'm the only one who's ever been interested. So we were very open to make our own decisions. But I always loved it. And obviously, growing up, I had lots of jewelry, and every birthday, every occasions, I would receive a beautiful piece of jewelry from my parents. And from a very young age, I would say, well, I was frustrated because I wanted to wear costume jewelry, which was the fun jewelry. I was not allowed to do it because I had all these beautiful real things. Why would you want to wear something fake? Am I responsible? Because this is fun, and this is too boring, and it's traditional. So that's kind of my youthful spirit, I guess, and which led me to do what I do today. So I would take my birthday present, let's say, and say, thank you very much, mommy and daddy. However, can I transform this beautiful bracelet into what I actually want? And my father would say, okay, here she goes again. And he would not indulge me. He would say, okay, go away, make me a sketch. So I would go away, make a sketch, and then come back and tell him this is what I want to do. And again, a little bit like that interaction with AP, where it's not good enough, and that 7 or 8 times back and forth until you find the perfect balance. That was kind of my informal best training with my father, where he would say, no, this is not good enough. Go back, go back, go back, until he deemed my idea good. And then he would sit me with a jeweler to work out if my idea was actually possible to make and how. So that's how I learned to do things. And so my aim, again, was to create things that I loved, which I guess at the time when I was a teenager were more costume jewelry look, style, more fun, I think, but with fine materials and fine techniques made by people with a lot of, skill for many generations. So that's how I started. When I then decided to do, and I started making these pieces for me, then later, I always knew that I wanted to do a line, but I didn't really formulate how. And then things kind of took over slowly. And then when I needed to, so I didn't have a business plan or a grand plan. I literally started making jewelry, and then I thought, oh, maybe I need packaging. And so, oh, maybe I need a logo. And so it was kind of all like this. My favorite color has always been blue, a specific shade of blue. So my packaging was this blue paper box with, I always loved bees. Again, I'm allergic to bees, which is completely unrelated. But I always loved bees, and I always used to paint and draw ceramics, and always sign myself with a bee for no reason in particular. It just became my thing. So I thought, oh, my logo, a bee. So I drew a bee. Then the opening of the box was this bee, and then my name, it was my signature, just like that. And then that was the beginning. Since then, my packaging has evolved a couple of times. But again, it's never changed. It's just an evolution. So it's kind of like it's grown up a bit. And then the logo that you're referring to is hand drawn, and it has lots of different blues. And the reason is because I have been, as I said, I love the blue, but then pouches were made one day, boxes were made so over the years, I realized I had all these different things with all these different blues, and I had to pick one, and I couldn't pick one. And so I decided that should be reflected in my logo. So that's why the logo is like a watercolor of different blues. So they're all there, but they represent an evolution. And then we're just about changing the logo, not the logo, but the packaging a little bit again. But again, it's an evolution. It's never going to be, oh, today's pink and I'm going to have a crocodile or something. It's very much, the bee is always there, gets a bit more refined, a bit more, we grow up. So all of this has grown up with me. But I guess inside I'm still pretty
childlike, happy.
I
Such a privilege to hear a creative at work.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Such a privilege to
The
hear
day
how
that I
your mind
stop having
works.
fun, I stop.
Yeah.
I think that's why.
You know how you design things for yourself primarily first? So after becoming a mother, does that actually affect what you design in terms of, like, say, bracelets and rings, and then you think, is this practical? Can I use it?
Yes, completely. First of all, I always wear jewelry. I love it. I am not precious with my jewelry, as in I'm the what do you call it? The guinea pig or whatever. I wear it for months, and if it survives me, it means it's fit for purpose because I abuse my jewelry. So I think, but because for me also there's that element, and even with AP, if you go back to my original Royal Oak, I remember every time that I would go, and obviously that was already owned by someone before me, so I had scratches and a patina, which I love. And I remember once I took it in because I needed to have something done to AP, and they wanted to polish it, to take all the scratches off. And I said, absolutely not. This is how I like it. This has, of course, it's not damaged. It just has a patina, which I love, and has a story. So please don't live. And that's really important to me. Of course, cleaning it is a different thing. You need to clean your jewelry, especially with the Florentine finish, because the two downsides of the Florentine finish: one, that it's a nightmare to photograph, and two, it gets dirty faster than shiny jewelry. So, but again, it's no reason. You clean it, and in 2 seconds it becomes like brand new. So, but in general, the use is that. Now I forgot what question. Oh no, I know what you asked me. And so yes, I design, every collection represents a moment in my life. So, for example, the collection that I actually just referred to before, Forte Beads, is a collection that is inspired by not my childhood, like Lucky, which is the first collection that I ever launched, was inspired by the friendship bracelets that I used to make on the beach with my sister and my friends. So they're braided with silk and gold, you double knot, you make a wish, have a charm. 15 years after that collection, I launched a collection called Forte Beads, which is inspired by my children's childhood. So they never braided bracelets. I have 2 boys, but we've always made plastic beaded bracelets because that's what they were doing. And it became, again, a bit of a family style signifier, where by the beginning of the summer, they would, because they can't wear them for school, so they would start making bracelets. I've always worn these plastic bracelets with all my jewelry, with my watches, my husband, the teacher, I mean, everybody. By the end of the summer, they have an armful. And then the night before school, we cut them off because we're going back to school. So they started representing family time.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, then at some point I thought, okay, I'm pretty tired of wearing these plastic things because, they're emotional, but they're still plastic. And so I decided, that's when I came up with the idea of remaking exactly the same shape, but in precious stones. So they're turquoise and jade and coral and lapis and amethyst. But again, there's the same versatility where you can make them yourself. Of course, you don't need to cut them because now they have cords with gold tips. So you just knot them. But there's that still playfulness, but that's inspired by my children, by that moment in my life. And again, there's always time for jewelry. That's never an excuse. I think that, if you have kids, you can't do this. And in fact, I make and remake. And if you see my Instagram, I think I just do it all the time. I constantly, it's kind of my de-stress. If I'm watching television, and that's just, I don't have them here, they're upstairs, but I always have these big bowls of my beads, and it's the sound of the beads moving is kind of my background a little bit. So yes, it's inspired by, it changes because it changes with me. I think because my jewelry is inspired by my life, and it's almost like each collection for me, I know exactly not the year, but I know where I was, why, what was happening in my life at that time, whether it was a trip, whether it was whatever. So yes, long way to say yes.
I have a final question about how watches are marketed. One, are you okay? Well, it's a two-part question. Are you happy with how? So, are you happy with how the watches were marketed for your collection? And secondly, do you think the ads nowadays are good, or do you think you just shouldn't push out any ads and just let the watch kind of market itself?
I'm never happy with how I think my watch is marketed. Just that's just the nature of, I guess, being a bit of a control freak, having a lot of opinions, and it's a disease a little bit, you know, of and you're like, okay, well, I'll do it myself, but then no, but anyway, no, I think it's great, but I think there's I don't know. I think with the ads right now, I mean, there's an ad obviously that is, we all know, which it's for a different brand, which I think has been incredibly powerful over the last like what, a decade or more. The Patek ad, where you never own Patek, you just merely look after for the next generation. It's incredibly powerful. I think what they did for the women's now is not the same, personally, and I think it's a little bit of a repetition, and I think that's one of the problems I find in the watch world in general. There's almost seems to be something that works, okay, let's do it again and again and again and again. And that's what I have a problem with. For me, it's you did it, and you know, and I do the opposite. You do things once, for me that idea is burned, finished, done. Shelf. I understand that, you know, budgets. Also, I understand the world now where customers are, you know, what is it? You have to put things 3 times in front of their face before they even notice it. And so I understand all of that. I think my brain just doesn't work that way. If I see it once, it's stored, recorded, and it spurs other ideas. So I think there needs to be more variety, more creativity, and less formality, more actually showing how it is in real life, rather than just in a studio with that, because that's not our life. And when you go and buy, and that, you know, what you said, this goes back to the beginning, it makes me so happy to hear that you liked it from a picture, but you liked it even more in real life, because that, I think, is the way, especially in a world of Instagram and retouching and all of it. You see things so many times, and this is the story of my life. I buy things, and because I'm a shopper, and at 3 a.m. I find a lot of different things sometimes when I can't see. And then you get it, and then you're like, and that's the worst feeling. Where I think the right feeling, which is why I kind of embrace the negative of my jewelry, which shoots terribly, is because every customer that receive our pieces receive it, and then they go, oh my god, it's so much better than I thought it would be. And that's how life should be. The real thing needs to be better. So I think, in answer to your question, I think the ads and everything should reflect and leave you a little bit more of that, rather than try and make it all like this, and then you get it, you're underwhelmed. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes a lot of sense.
I think the ads are quite aesthetic. They just look good, but they don't have much soul.
No,
they don't have that emotional side. So you have no attachment, you don't resonate with any of it. And sometimes they focus so much on the product that it's just a product, and they just Photoshop the hell out of the product that it doesn't look like anything like the real thing. So even now, consumers are so savvy where they think, do you know what? I bet it doesn't look like that. Right?
And it puts you off, and it's a problem, because, but you know, listen, I go back to that. You need to, the best things that the inspiration comes from when you see things, right? So the same way I spotted something on a wrist on a lady, I had no idea what it was, how it was. I just loved the way it sat on her wrist. And so I think that's what needs to happen more, if I had my own, if I was in charge of that.
Well, I would say, just listening to you, it's like listening to one of those masterclasses on YouTube. I'm just listening to a
there's no plan, it all just comes out.
Yeah, but just to see the freedom at which your thought your mind works is so. I've never actually experienced something like this, and I think it might be even. It's very generalist of me to say, but quite difficult to find in Asia, where a lot of the population are perhaps very used to rigid structures of thinking, and they don't have that amount of freedom to develop their creative thoughts.
I think freedom is important in that. I think also one of the most important things is, which is part of the reason why I'm where I am right now, is boredom. I spend my life. No, I don't like being bored, and I'm never bored. But I think we live in a world where, again, my kids are 13 and 15. There's so much constant entertainment every minute, even at school. Everything is. There's no emptiness, and there's no time to be bored. And when I'm bored, that's when I become creative. And I think that's something that schooling system, society in general, has taken the freedom to be bored away. And I think that's a problem, because I think that limits people. So we have a house upstate New York in the middle of nowhere where we love to go and spend time. And of course they have all the electronics and everything, but they're out all day. And I just say, I just want you to be bored for a little bit of the day, because that's when you come up with ideas or thoughts, and you learn about yourself. You dream. You also allow yourself to dream. So here we're in the opposite. We're in the bottom hill of Puglia. We're in the middle of nowhere, but they can go outside. They can have fun. They can do, and again, it's daydreaming. And I think that's the part that the world is. I crave it. I need it. So I promote it, I think. But that's what works for me. Everybody's different. Some people work, I can't, you put me at a desk and you tell me you have to design me something like that. I go for, I don't know, the freedom. But yes, freedom, I think is important. I don't know how to do it any other way, to be honest. But
I think, Long, you just found your quote to label this episode.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that. But I was also thinking, maybe in 40 to 60 years' time, right? When we look back at the Frosted Gold collection, and I believe AP would have had another book by then.
Yeah.
People will never know that there was this one lady that kickstarted this whole thing, that made Carolina stop her. And then, we'll look at her watch. Like, this woman will never know.
Like, this lady doesn't know.
I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
Huge impact. Exactly. I don't. Can I tell you? She was also, by the way, and that's the thing that's important. Yeah. She was not some super chic, good-looking, she was quite an older lady, kind of rushing around, getting busy, whatever. So it was literally about, what she was super cool, obviously. But it's not like all prepared and styled and staged. She was just living. And I think, again, there's lots and lots and lots, but I think, yes, it's about, we don't need more. So I think when you create more, and that's my thing, you need to have a reason or a justification. You need to have a purpose. And that's also in the jewelry world, and I think in the watch world as well, but I can speak more about the jewelry world on this. There's always, many years ago, it started becoming part of the fashion world. And so the buyers, the retailers, they wanted, the journalists, new. I completely decided I'm not part of that. I don't do trade shows anymore. I don't do anything. I'm not doing press days. I actually, I don't know if anybody will hear this, but fired my PR agency. I completely, I just backed out from all of it, because I said, this is unnecessary pressure. You're just churning stuff. You're burning stories. You're not giving it steps or the information. And in fact, we launched something which is completely crazy. And I would love actually your thoughts. Please, can you look at it? Our online magazine is too big of a word. It's an online journal. It's called La Catena, which means the chain, which for me is obviously, the link. But also my family started making chains. And actually, I'll tell you this, my family business, which is also why I believe in things happening for a reason. My great-grandfather was not a jeweler. He used to repair pocket watches, which is in 1885 what was in fashion, obviously, what was used. And he then started making, he was a very able jeweler, so he started making chains, bespoke chains for the pocket watches for his clients. That's how the jewelry production started. So the repair side faded for the watches, and he started making chains, and then from there jewelry. So somewhere up there, I think my great grandfather is smiling that, 4 generations later, we kind of close the circle and go back to in the world of watches somehow. But again, driven by the jewelry. So I believe in karma, but I believe in, again, letting things take their
natural route.
Yeah. And also, you don't ask, you don't get, you don't try, you don't know, so it's we need to be, I go back to freedom, a bit more, organized freedom, I think.
That's very cool.
Right. Yeah. I read something last night. It's completely unrelated.
Yes.
They put in China limits on under 18-year-olds of when they can play video games.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I didn't
They're
know.
only allowed like in the weekend for an hour or something like that. Or
I think someone messaged me this earlier this morning. It's like the first thing I saw on my phone. And they said, like, is this even enforceable? Actually, it's funny because the guy that messaged me actually is based in the UK. So he messaged me, is this enforceable? And I was like, yeah, I think so, because mainly it's referring, I think, to mobile games. So on the phone. So after you're on that game for X amount, it will just kick you off.
That's insane.
And I would say that it's enforceable because I think it's coming from the top, right? And if it comes from the top, like you can make sure you don't follow it, but you'd be out of business pretty quick too.
I don't think you want to mess around.
Exactly.
With the top.
But again, think that the book moves a little bit now, because it makes you can't just spend your life attached to a tablet, and it's not the same as reading a book. Because there's that, you're missing the tactileness, and I think that's what I think informs design. We need to just open our eyes, and we're all in a car and transfer from here to there. We don't look outside the window anymore. Maybe you spot, I was in New York, and then I'll stop talking. I was in New York a month ago, and I was looking at, I was on Madison Avenue. I was looking at stores in New York, and then I went to the Met to see, there was a Medici exhibition. Anyway, when I went to the Met, I took a picture of there was a projection on the floor of the Medici stem, which is the family from Florence, obviously, on the floor, and I had my feet on it, and you saw a sliver, little tiny little sliver of a green dress, which is what I was wearing. And that's it. I posted it on Instagram about the Medici exhibition, and I got a message. That's the only picture I posted of that day. I got a message from someone randomly saying, I saw you on Madison Avenue. It's like, how? She said, you were wearing an emerald green dress, turquoise Bottega pouch, whatever, and brown sandals, and you were, I saw you, I was driving by, and I noticed you. I thought it was you, but I couldn't see the jewelry well. But she, from the sliver of my green dress.
Oh my God.
Well, in a weird way, I thought, psycho. But come on. But the other side actually made me feel really refreshed, where I thought, okay, she's in New York, she's sitting in a taxi or in a car or whatever, and she's looking outside the window. And you know what? She's put 2 and 2 together so randomly. I thought, actually, that's nice. But yeah, it's I think it's about seeing what's going on, because otherwise it's all about, if you keep doing what you plan only, nothing fun happens, nothing creative happens, nothing new happens either.
Anyway, totally agree.
Preaching done.
I feel like I've taken a lot of like life lessons away from this hour.
Doesn't it remind you of that book, though, Quiet? Where it talks about, I think it's that book, where it talks about boredom and how we actually need boredom, to self-reflect, to think, to process all the information. And I agree with Carolina, there is just too much McDonald's content, fast food content out there, which is polluting the mind. And it's all biologically related, how, we will fixate on movement, we fixate on bright colors, but we're never actually thinking about what we're looking at. It's just literally colors and images that are moving across, because that's how we're hardwired to think.
Exactly.
So I very much agree with everything you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. But please go and take a look at La Catena online.
I will.
Yeah,
because there's
We
lots of
definitely
things.
will.
And again, it's about I'm telling stories. Well, I'm not actually telling stories, because we're actually employing real journalists and real photographers, because I don't want it to be my preaching, but it's all things from my world that I love. And so again, it's a space where that's why I stopped doing kind of my PR, traditional PR, but it's about telling more stories about things that I find interesting. And again, you can spend as little time or as much as you want. And I think again, that's how I approach life. Maybe you love it, maybe you just flick through it. And anyway, that's I guess my other message, I think, of how I function, how my brain functions, is about discovering things and being inspired. And there's my favorite one that we did there is we launched a home fragrance recently, which is called Villa Colombo, which is the name of my family home in Florence, where I grew up. And this home fragrance that I developed with an Italian nose. She's amazing. And the bottles are a collaboration with Laguna B in Venice, and all of this craft. But we took a walk from my garden up to Fiesole with Guido Taroni, who's an amazing photographer, to picture the smell, take a picture of the smell, which is clearly possible, because I know it smells of this plant that it reminds me of this from my childhood. So, and again, it's a walk, it's called a breeze in Fiesole, but it's a walk, and along the walk and it's about an afternoon, what is it, a couple of hours, nothing more. But I think it's something that, again, fills your heart, stays with you, and that's the inspiration behind the home fragrance. So it's about telling stories in a very different way, rather than just what I would have done before, and the world would have asked before from me, and I would have given it, which is a press release with the details, the information, the price. That I want to give people, make them feel what inspired me. Then maybe you like it, and then it takes a whole life of your own, like the watch, when it lands on your wrist, and it takes a new journey. But I think it's important to have why it arrived.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, because I know you collaborated and you make glasses, and then you also made tablecloth, like so table settings, right? So now that you have moved into fragrance, is there anything else in the near future that you would be very much interested in collaborating, and like maybe even like shower gel and something that's very personal?
I have a few passions. So glass and Murano glass in general is a huge passion. I collect a lot of it with my husband. Anything, tape plates, ceramics, a problem. It's a problem for me. Not a problem. My husband says it's a problem. We just went the other day to a ceramic town. I thought I was landed in heaven, honestly. And my husband's like, oh my God, what do we do now? But so it all starts with things that I love. I love linens. I love, but for me, the main focus is Italian craft. So that's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. It's about, all these places also, like even in Murano, for example, where all these traditions, like in the jewelry, are passed from generation to generation. And unfortunately, newer generations are not interested in doing these things, and they want to be in marketing, or they want to do whatever, something else. And so then a lot of these jobs and these traditions die. So that's one of the things that also I worked very hard with our workshop in Florence, is to get younger people excited and interested in making stuff again, because nobody knows how to make stuff anymore. So in fact, our workshop is now, I think we have the youngest is 18 years old, an apprentice, but the oldest is probably 50, but we have a lot in between. So it's about, and everybody does it. It's not a job, it's a passion. It's their life, and they love it. So that's what I think my main focus is in Italy. It's about talking about and collaborating with people who share that passion. So AP is the non-Italian exception. But again, they're the best at what they do. That passion is there. Family business. We're both fourth generation. There were so many synergies. So for me, it's about businesses. I never plan these things. They always come as natural synergy. So with Loretta Caponi, for example, who I did the table linens with for the launch of Kiss, the third collaboration with AP. I've been wearing their dresses since I was a little girl. My mother's table linens, my grandmother's table linens. So I grew up with it, and it's painstakingly, you know, embroidered, beautiful. But again, they're 40 years old and they're still perfect because the quality lasts. With Murano is the same. So home fragrance, and again, for me, it was more home fragrance. But although that same fragrance you can use on your body, but for me, it was about smells are very important. So that's the smell of our store. That's the smell of my home. Oh, wow. So there's that. There are a lot of things that kind of trigger memories. We just launched a new series of collaborations with Forte Beads. So I created these postcards. So with we just launched with Loretta Caponi, with Love Shack Fancy, and Agua by Agua Mendita. So 3 summer brands. They created their own coloration. In the fall, there will be a follow-up with 5 others that I can't say now. So there's always something. Ceramics might be coming. And there's always a lot going on, but I never know also what comes first, because I the way I like to say it is, I like with my designs, I put a lot of things in the oven, and then you never know what gets cooked first. And I'm okay with that, because, for example, a collection, Forte Beats took me 3 years to so anytime our collections came out, until it's just right, it's not coming out. Anything that I love, I think anything that it starts with something that I fall in love with. So there's no plan. It just always comes together. So I don't know if that answers.
I have an idea, because I'm also very passionate about ceramics. I've been throwing since I started college. I'm not anywhere good, but I just love making things with my hands. But you know what I would love to see, like, say if you were to step into the ceramic scene and you would, you know, partner with a potter or whatever, like if you can make your own glaze and your own firing style that it brings out unexpectedness of the glaze. So like when it reacts with heat, you don't know what will come out of the kiln. So every time you open up the kiln, the way that the heat reacts with your glaze, of your color of glaze, like produces something different every time. So
I love that.
It like I think the glazing is very sorry.
But it is. It is. I was the other day, and they, you know, you see it. There was this wall of pink pottery, glazed, uncooked yet. And then, you know, when you put it in the oven, it's not pink anymore. When it comes out of the oven, it's not pink, but it actually looked really pretty. And then again, to work out how then if you want that pink, you need to work out a different way to get it. Exactly. Good idea.
Good idea. Should we do the wait, before I go into the quick fire, I just have to say, for people that don't know what we're talking about, just Google it. Like, Google Carolina Bucci, Murano Glass, and see the collaborations. Because I think, well, last night I was going through some of the stuff, right? And I realized a lot of the stuff that you produce and do collaborations with, if you actually don't see the name, you won't, it's not so loud in your face that you're like, oh, it's I don't know, like it's a Versace, a bathrobe, that kind of thing, you know? But when it clicks and you're like, oh my God, I can totally see the essence of Carolina Bucci in this thing, but in such a subtle way. And you just like weave it in, and it's so effortless. And I'm just like, oh, I get it. Like, it's one of those things.
That's actually a really important factor. And I think it's about recognizing a style, I think. Quality. For sure. So I went to a lunch many years ago, but it still made me laugh, at a friend's house. There were a bunch of people there that I didn't know, friends of theirs, and I was wearing obviously jewelry. And this woman goes, I love your jewelry. It's very Carolina laugh? Do we? And this woman goes, the husband looks at her like, when you know, and she goes, oh, it is. It's really Carolina Bucci-ish. And so everybody's looking. And at some point, the other friend goes, it's like what? I know my stuff. And they're like, no, but that's Carolina Bucci. Like, oh, I had no idea. So to me, that was the best compliment, because again, to me, the best thing is if you recognize my piece, but just by seeing it like this, without the box, without seeing the signature, without seeing everything, again, that's when I feel like I've done my job well.
Yeah.
So that's what I
appreciate
with the collaborations. It's, yes, the information is there, but the piece needs to live by itself and tell the story by itself. That's why the La Catena I'm using to tell these stories in a different way. Anyway, to hopefully make them live.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're gonna start the quick fire.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Favorite city?
Florence.
Favorite food?
Pasta with lemon sauce.
Very specific.
Yes.
Okay. First place you want to travel after COVID?
I'm going to Sicily. Well, I'm not, but I will.
Shoes or watches?
Shoes to watch to wear, shoes to have, because my favorite thing to do. Sorry, come on. My favorite thing to do is to be barefoot.
It's your PR company.
Well, I want shoes, and I'm a shoe addict, but I don't want to wear them, and I want to wear the watch. So both.
Okay. Yeah. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Okay. Pocket watches or summer? Okay. Pocket watches or wristwatches?
Wristwatches.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies, although I've overdosed on TV shows, but movies.
Morning or a night person?
Depends on the season. Morning in the summer and evening in the winter.
Okay. Quiet birthday or a big party?
A party. Big one.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Neither.
Okay. Last I'm kind of shocked. I would have thought all Italians would do coffee.
No, I am the only Italian who doesn't drink nor coffee, nor wine, nor smoke.
Okay, last thing you took a photo of on your phone?
The palm trees this morning and the cactus.
Okay. Last person you called?
My sister last night. Well, actually you, but like my sister last night.
Someone famous that you would love to meet?
Oof, this is so difficult. You know, I had no one actually, because I did have my obsession many years ago on someone, and when I met him, I was so
disappointed.
And also I was speechless, which is not me.
Who? Can we know who?
It's really embarrassing. It was Jonathan Adler. But I was younger. Young.
Why were you speechless?
I don't know. I think I didn't know what to say. And, so that left such a bad experience. I actually don't want to meet. I don't know. I'm happy to meet anyone, but no one on my hit list. Let's put it this way.
Okay. Something you want to accomplish before the year ends?
I want to finish all my family picture books.
Okay.
Oh, that's cute. That's so cute.
Biggest fear?
Needles.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay.
Favorite? You may be pedophobic. You do not want to come and get a vaccination with me. It's
okay.
Problem. I have had hypnotherapy and everything. No. It's like a.
Does it work? Does it work?
Yeah, not really. It did in order to have my kids, but then it stopped working.
Right.
So I think it's the means that justifies the. Right. It's also logical, but it's fascinating. But yes, needles.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to tell a woman to own one piece of jewelry, would it be ring, necklace, earring? What would it be?
A bracelet.
Okay. What is something you never leave the house without?
Well, my jewelry, my dog these days. I would say a whole lot. My dog.
Okay. What is the first thing you notice when you meet someone?
Is it bad to say their shoes?
No.
No, not at all. I think a lot of us are like, yeah.
The shoes, the jewelry, the eyes.
Okay. So bottom up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Just 3?
Yeah. Okay, you can do 5. You can do 5.
Okay. I don't want to say creative. That's boring.
No, but you are. We'll say creative.
Yeah.
I don't know if irreverent is the right word, not to make it in a bad way, but if you tell me what to do, I won't do it. If I can't go by a script, I think that's the main. If you tell me what to repeat, I won't. But as we've done for the last hour and so, I have a lot to say. I don't know, positive. Glasses always have maybe, and curious.
Okay.
Maybe curious.
Okay. Wait, do you guys want to add anything? I want to say she's very spontaneous.
Okay, yes, that's a good one. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I want to say she's very like daring as to what she wants to say. Like there's
free.
Yes, no filter.
Free. Yeah.
Free.
See, it's better when other people say it. I don't know how to say it about myself.
All right. Well, thank you.
It's not good. It's not when I ask these two to describe me. It's never.
You have a lot of stuff to say.
Oh, I have to say one more thing. Like if I took away before we end from this session alone, I think like I took away many things, but then the one thing that left like the most impression on me was just how like your dad has like your approach to doing things, from you going to the drawing board and then showing your dad the drafts 7-8 times, to doing the same thing with your jewelry, to doing the same thing with Francois AP. I think your mindset of doing things isn't like, oh, if it doesn't work, like sure, it's like, okay, it doesn't work, it's not in my dictionary, but how do I make it work? I don't mind going back and forth as I know it will work, so just get me there and then backtrack at it. So that's like the one thing I took away from this. Yeah.
That's the way.
Yeah.
So Carolina, we have to end. We took up so much of your time, and I feel bad. Your dog is like probably like screaming, like, let me in.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's found someone else to bark at. He's gone. So it's.
Thank you so much. Like, I hope you had fun. And and honestly, hope to see you soon. Like, really either we're in Europe or you come.
I know, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Hope to see you all soon. We'll wait for you in London or in Italy, or hopefully I make it to Asia soon. But
get the vaccines first, or vaccinated first. Yeah.
For everyone tuning in, please go do check out Carolina's work. You can find her on Instagram at Carolina_Bucci, and you can find me, Jack, and Dan on the Waiting List podcast page. Okay, goodbye.
Bye. Thank you, Carolina.
And make sure to check out La Catena.
Yes.
La Catena. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Waiting List podcast. Hit the subscribe button and the next episode will come straight to your phone as soon as it's ready. Whilst I'm here, please remember to leave a nice review and follow us on Instagram at the Waiting List podcast.